back to the Daily Grind. Thanks for checking out the channel. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
I'm gonna try to keep this video as respectful as possible, but full-time family, we just got some bad news, or you can even say some fucking delusional news. Let's get to it. Nate Diaz's coach came out recently in an interview with Submission Radio and said Nate Diaz should get $15 million for his next fight, and he likely won't compete at UFC 219. Holy smokes, you guys. I'm going to keep it as respectful as possible here because I love Nate Diaz, man, just like a lot of you guys. He's a really cool guy. As a person, he's cool. He smokes weed. That's pretty cool. You know, he's one of the coolest kids in school or out of school. You get the fucking point. We all like Nate Diaz. But as a fight fan, I'm calling bullshit. All right, let's get into it. Nate Diaz's coach joined, as I said, Submission Radio, and he said what I'm about to read to you, and I already know I'm going to have to interject because I went to record this video just a second ago, and I had to keep fucking interjecting the stuff I was reading, but unfortunately my microphone wasn't recording, so let's fucking get to it. This is what Nate Diaz's coach said in the interview with Submission Radio. The UFC doesn't want to give Nathan the money, you know, because what Woodley's trying to do, he's trying to get his name up there, and he wants to fight the best, so he wants to fight Nathan, but the UFC doesn't want to pay Nathan, so why fight him? We can fight McGregor instead. Alright, I'm just going to stop after every paragraph because I really wanted to stop after that third sentence when he said, you know, what Woodley's trying to do is he's trying to get his name up there, and he wants to fight the best, so he wants to fight Nathan. No, that is not what's going on here. He's not like, who is the toughest fighter out of all of my options I can fight? Nate Diaz. That is not what's going on here, buddy. The current state of the UFC is people try to fight the easiest fight possible for the most amount of money. And even though that's not usually the case with Tyron Woodley, he's not looking for the easiest fight for the most amount of money. Tyron Woodley currently is looking for the most amount of money or the most amount of notoriety. Nate Diaz comes with that. It's not because of the challenge here, but the biggest thing here, though, the biggest thing to me here is that $15 million number. That's my problem. So let's continue with Nate Diaz's coaches, what he had to say. He said, I saw Woodley talking the other day about Nathan being scared, a scared homie, you know, but it's not that. It's not all about that because Nathan ain't scared to fight nobody. I mean, if it's Godzilla, Brock no, he didn't say all that, but he said Nathan ain't scared to fight nobody. It's money, and Dana White and the UFC don't want to pay him, but he deserves it. So he continues. I mean, Woodley says he signed his part already. Woodley did, but Nathan hasn't. But there's a reason, because you know just as well as I do, Nathan is on top and he needs to be paid what he deserves. He's the people person. People want to see him, and he's popular right now, just like McGregor. No, not just like McGregor, but he is popular. So why doesn't the UFC do it when they made big money on the show when Nathan fights and McGregor fights? Okay, let me explain, guys. I'm going to stop right here because I really am what this guy is saying is what you would expect from someone in Nate Diaz's team that's trying to come out and explain why Nate Diaz is still not taking any fights, because there's just so many things that come to my head here. For one, this is UFC 219. You know what that throws my fucking mind to? Out of nowhere, you're gonna, where the fuck did that come from? UFC 209. You know what the fuck 209 is? It's the Diaz brothers area code 209, motherfucker. And so we wanted to see think about this. We wanted to see either Diaz brother at UFC 209. That was already kind of like pushing, like, yo, it's been since UFC, we ain't seen Nate or Nick in forever. Fuck yeah, UFC 209 will be the perfect return. Here we are 10 fucking pay-per-views later, UFC 219, still talking about getting the Diaz brother on this damn card. And it's probably not going to happen. And as far as Nate Diaz, $15 million. You said he's popular like Conor McGregor? No, he's not. He's popular, but not like Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor's on another level. And I'm sorry, man, I gotta address the fucking elephant in the room. I know everybody loves Nate Diaz, including me. That's why I usually don't fucking bring up this point. But Nate Diaz's success is directly tied to Conor McGregor. Or am I crazy? I'm talking about the crossover success, the superstar success, the Ronda Rousey Conor McGregor success. The reason why everybody, the casual for Nate Diaz's name, is because he was given that opportunity versus Conor McGregor. Now, did they pick Nate Diaz's name out of the hat? Yes. But if Nate Diaz would have lost to Conor McGregor in that that first fight, he would still just be the other Diaz brother that got a shot at Conor McGregor. The only reason Nate Diaz shot the fuck up, rocket pack on his back, shot to superstardom, is because he beat Conor McGregor. And honestly, after that first, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Conor almost took it to him in the first round. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. Nate won the fight, choked him out, embarrassed him. But that's where all of this comes from. So you're gonna tell me Nate Diaz deserves $15 million, and I get it, bro. I'm trying to let you guys know I do understand where they're coming from. Yes, if you want to be technically literal, all of that type of shit, Nate Diaz probably deserves $15 million. But then if you want to be technical like that, so does Conor, so does GSP, so do probably a lot of these champions. That's the type of money you would get if you had a fucking union and you were getting a percentage of the TV splits and all the other stuff that comes with that. And if the UFC was as big as the NBA and NFL. $15 million is the type of money that the stars of the NBA and the NFL get, and those companies are just a lot bigger than the UFC. Now, I do understand the fighters should be paid a little, or not even a little more. I don't know exactly how much, but the fighters do deserve more. Just off of what we know, the fact that the fighters get 0% of like the TV deal and like no health insurance type shit, yes, the fighters do deserve more. But when you're coming at me with $15 million, that's the type of contract negotiations you see after there's already a union in place and after everybody's already like, $15 million as of right now is delusional. Conor McGregor has not even made $15 million to show up. And you know what else? Another fucking thing about these guys that have these demands, I'm not coming back until I get this flat fee. To me, that rings a fucking scam. And when I say scam, I mean it's like, I know I'm not worth this much, but hey, if I don't get this much, I'm not even fighting. We ain't even gambling on it, because this reminds me of the Demetrius Johnson situation where it's like, hey, I want $1 million, but I don't want to fight TJ. It's like, yo, the pay-per-view model does make sense here. It's like, if Nate Diaz feels like he's as big of a star as Conor, or he's got, you know, all this drawing power, excuse me, if he feels like that, well then put your fucking money where your mouth is and sign up for pay-per-view points. Tell him, I tell you what, give me 3 million in pay-per-view points, because I'm such a big star, the pay-per-view money's gonna carry me. Because Conor can do that. We've seen Conor McGregor in some of his biggest fights get paid 3 million to show up, 3 million to win, and then pay-per-view points. But the thing is, people buy Conor McGregor's pay-per-views, so it's like Nate Diaz doesn't want to, or his camp, whoever's giving Nate Diaz this fucking advice, doesn't want to gamble on Nate Diaz. They're like, yeah, we've got to win over Conor, so we're worth more than we've ever been worth, but it might not translate into pay-per-view buys if we fight anyone other than Conor. And that's the elephant in the room. I think everybody's thinking that. How will Nate Diaz do on pay-per-view without Conor McGregor? Woodley is a champion. Nate Diaz would be going to a whole nother division fighting a champion. That should do great pay-per-view, right? I mean, if you're not talking about Conor McGregor, who's the other biggest name for Nate Diaz to fight right now? I mean, he could fight Tony Ferguson, but honestly, Tyron Woodley's a bigger star than Tony Ferguson. Even if people don't like Tyron Woodley, there's a lot more people that know of Tyron Woodley than Tony Ferguson currently. So with that being said, I just can't rock with this $15 million number right now. It's just too big. There's no fight. I mean, we just seen Stipe Miocic, the current heavyweight champion, in his contract negotiations. He got pissed off just because the guy that he fought, he's the current heavyweight champion, Stipe Miocic, and he goes to fight a guy, Alistair Overeem. He's like, hey, how the fuck am I the champion and that guy just got paid more than me? You know what I'm saying? If Nate Diaz does this and the UFC gives in, it opens the floodgates for every single champion to do that. Hey, no, why is this guy getting paid more than me? I feel like I'm worth this much. I'm the champion. I'll never be worth this much again. Like, just the Tyron Woodleys of the world, just people like that. If they see Nate Diaz get $15 million to show the fuck up, we're gonna have problems in the UFC. We're gonna have champions not fighting, like Stipe for a year. I mean, just because he's been going through this contract dispute, we haven't been hearing anything about Stipe lately. But I mean, recently they've got back in negotiations. Recently they've been saying, you know, Stipe's happier going into these negotiations. but they're probably going to have to give him a bump up in pay. And he's the heavyweight champion. The heavyweights are the baddest men on the planet. He's got more of a case, except the only thing Nate Diaz has. The only thing Nate Diaz has is that win over Conor McGregor. I'm telling you, if he would have lost that first fight to Conor McGregor, there would have never been a McGregor rematch. McGregor and Diaz would just, be back to a guy that's fought Conor McGregor that lost. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be this magnitude. So that's why I feel like these guys are using this leverage. It's like, hey, they probably understand that too. But it's like, hey, we do have that win over Conor, so we are going to hold out because we know the UFC wants the trilogy. And yes, they are right. If you want to wait for Conor McGregor, you'll probably get the fight eventually, and it's worth a lot of money. I understand. It's probably eventually, in the long run, the smart move if you're Nate Diaz. But as a fight fan, it's got to piss you off to know that these dudes are, not even holding the UFC up, but it's like, we got to win over McGregor. Now we're not fighting till you pay us. It's like, god damn, bro. You won't fight nobody. 10 UFCs ago, nigga, it's almost been 20 UFCs since we've seen Nate Diaz fight. We've seen Conor McGregor fight UFC and boxing since then. This dude's still holding out off of that win. So it's like, and then after, for one, there's no way that he's getting $15 million to show up. So it's like the only way, since we've seen Nate Diaz's team hinting he was getting back in camp, and now they've deleted their tweets and deleted the posts, and Nate Diaz probably won't be fighting. It's just got to make even the Diaz fans say, fuck, bro, what's going on? Okay, if Nate's holding out for Conor, can we get Nick? Because if not, why the fuck? I mean, what the fuck are we really doing here, man? It is what it is. I've said enough on this video. I mean, I'm just going to read the last part because it's where he says the number 15 million, and then I'm going to get out of here because, I don't know, I'm just not too, this shit is just not too great of news. I mean, you see where their mindset is. They're holding out for, at least they went down to 15 million, I suppose, but it's just not realistic, man. With all these fighters in the UFC currently, there's not one fighter, George St. Pierre, Conor McGregor, or Ronda Rousey, that has made a $5 million purse. The highest purse I've ever seen for a fighter to show up is $3 million by Conor McGregor in his last UFC fight, and then he got another $3 million to win. But to show, $3 million. So you're telling me you want 5 times what Conor McGregor got paid last to fight anybody that's not named Conor? Yeah. So let's continue. He said, even if Nathan fights Woodley, it's going to be up there because of Nathan. So they're going to probably make, oh gosh, pay-per-view is going to be just out there because they're curious of what Nathan's going to do with Woodley. So they're making the money. They're pocketing a lot of it. You guys know it too. Oh gosh, it's ridiculous. Yeah, but the thing is, if you get pay-per-view shares, you pocket it too. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they're going to make the same percentages they were going to make no matter what. But if you guys don't go through, if your pay-per-view numbers don't go through the roof, then you just lost the gamble. And these guys ain't willing to gamble. This guy, I don't even know the name of this guy. It just says Nate Diaz's coach, so I'm not throwing nobody in under the bus. I'm just saying this logic I'm not cool with. So he continued to say, well, everybody wants to see McGregor and Nathan. And honestly, I got to tell you, that's not even true. When I talk to my casual friends, when I talk to the microwave, my brother who is super casual, he's like, dude, what the fuck are we still talking about Nate Diaz for? Like, if McGregor comes back, I don't even want to see that fight. I want to see McGregor versus the guy that's on the 11 fight win. Like, people are starting to go away from the McGregor Diaz fight. It's always going to be there because they know who Diaz is compared to, but they're moving to McGregor GSP and shit like that. So he continued, Woodley's out of the picture. I mean, he's just blubbering now and talking because he wants to get noticed. He wants to be up there in the top 2. I don't blame him. That's normal for a fighter because he has the belt. He thinks the belt's important, but it's not right now. It's about who you're fighting. It's about who you're fighting, and that's why they're trying to get Nathan. He's trying to get McGregor, but everybody wants. But what everybody really wants is McGregor and Nathan, and that's all I ever hear. People text me all of the time. It's still constantly, where are they fighting? That's all we want to see. That's the fight. That's the best fight. That's the biggest fight to watch right now. And you know, because the last 2 fights were great, so the third one has to finish. We have to find out the outcome of that one. So that's where it should be at now. Now, where the fuck is this $15 million number? Because I'm done reading this fucking shitty logic to me. All right, here it is. $15 million easy. $15 million easy, because I mean, he's a star right now. I mean, McGregor can't even fight right now. He got suspended, and Willie's trying to fight everybody. He says McGregor doesn't want to fight him. He says BJ Penn doesn't want to fight him. He's naming all these people that don't want to fight him, you know, because he's trying to get his name big. He's trying to get up there, and nobody wants to fight him. I mean, he's got the belt, so what? The belt doesn't mean anything some more. It's about who you're fighting if you want to make the money. God, I fucking hate this. I'm not reading anymore. There's another paragraph on here. Go to MMAfighting.com, the Nate Diaz article, his coach article, if you want to read the rest. But I'm just saying, get the fuck out of here, bro. As a fight fan, fuck out of here. If I was Nate Diaz's brother or coach or manager, I would understand this, because I'm trying to get fucking paid too, and I realize this is the fight business. You can't just please all the fight fans because they want to see Nate back in the cage. Right now, Nate Diaz has more leverage than he'll ever have in his fucking career, and he's using it, because if you don't use your leverage when you have it, you don't have it, and you don't got no goddamn leverage. So I get it. I fucking get it. As disrespectful as some of you fucking social justice warrior crybabies might be at the end of this video, oh my god, bro, you just gotta understand. Like, I fucking don't care, bro. The fight fan in me is giving my opinion, and I want to see Nate Diaz back. And what I'm getting from this is Nate Diaz will never be back, because he's got leverage over Conor McGregor right now, and Conor McGregor's the biggest thing since sliced bread. But if I go into this fucking everything I just read that this guy said, a lot of it to me is just not true. I mean, he says people are texting him all the time and calling him all the time. He still gets it constantly. Yeah, bro, that's because you're Nate Diaz's coach. You know what I'm saying? People are like, hey, it's 17 UFCs ago last time we saw Nate. Is he ever coming back? I guarantee you his last text message, if this nigga pulled out his phone, it don't say, hey bro, I'm still dying to see Nate or Diaz. I bet you the last text at the top of this nigga's phone says, hey, are the Diaz brothers retired? Or hey, are either one of the Diaz brothers coming back? Or hey, I get Nate, but what about Nick? Like, niggas are moving on. Like, I don't know, man. This might be like the fucking Floyd Mayweather Pacquiao, you know, the fight that took too long to make in fucking boxing. Everyone wanted to see Mayweather Pacquiao for so long, and then they fought when they were like 40. Conor Diaz 3 might literally come when these niggas are 40, bro. It might come at UFC 240. Who fucking knows? But all I know is we thought Nate was back. It didn't matter who it was. It didn't matter if it was Ferguson. It didn't matter if it was Tyron. I don't care who Nate's fighting. It's just, you know, if this nigga was an item on my shelf, he'd have a lot of fucking dust all over him and shit. You know what I'm saying? You gotta brush the dust off. This nigga Nate's gonna come back to ring rust, and he ain't even really been on like a hiatus like that. You know, he ain't even coming back from injury or fucking something like that. But he's about to have ring rust when he comes back. Like, what the fuck? And I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on here, but this will probably be the last we hear of the Diaz family for a while, because what the fuck is going on? Literally, I'm talking to you Diaz fans for a second. I'm not even the Diaz fans, because I'm a Diaz fan. I'm talking to you Diaz dick riders, you fucking DDRs for a second. What the fuck is up with your boys, dog? Y'all, the fans, the niggas with the 209 in their fucking thumbnail pictures, need to go to Nate Diaz's social media or Twitter and say, yo, bro, this ain't cool. I've been supporting you this motherfucking long. I just want to know when you're going to fight. You got me hyped up. I was super hyped to see you coming back. Your coaches, your teams, they were tweeting and deleting. You even put a goddamn picture with some boxing gloves on talking about hashtag back to the grind or some shit like that. And now, sorry guys, the fight's dead. We want $15 million. Fuck out of here, dog. If you wanted $15 million, we could have deaded this shit a long time ago. We didn't even have to see Tyron Woodley on TMZ fucking calling you a scared homie. And as you said, nobody wants to fight Tyron right now, and it's because he's not the big name. No, it's because nobody wants to get fucking stuffed out by Tyron. I was going to say snuffed, but that almost seemed too fucking vulgar. But nobody wants to fucking fight Tyron because no one can beat Tyron. And even if the fights are boring, I get it. Tyron Woodley don't got no more passes from me. If Tyron Woodley were to fight Nate Diaz and it's a boring fight, oh God, I just can't see it. Tyron Woodley, He's not going to be a crossover star like that. Tyron Woodley's got to step his shit up. That's not what this video is about, but Tyron Woodley, he's got to step his shit up. But it is true that nobody wants to fight Tyron, and they can all use the excuse, nope, he's not as big of a star as us. Nope, he's got like 100 less thousand followers than us. Nope, sorry, Tyron. Like, I get it. You don't have to fucking like Tyron. That's why this is not a Tyron video. But Nate Diaz's coach has a point when he says no one wants to fucking fight Tyron Woodley. So I guess Tyron Woodley might as well take his talents to Colby Covington's front yard, UFC 219. But now here comes Tyron Woodley. This is a domino effect. Now that Nate Diaz ain't gonna fight, Tyron Woodley's not gonna fight. Sorry, it was only Nate Diaz where I'm getting my shoulder surgery. So now we ain't gonna get to see Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson, Nate Diaz versus Tyron Woodley, or Tyron versus Colby. We could have had Nate and Tyron on this card. Now we don't get Nate, Tyron, Colby, Tony, none of these cats. We could have had Conor McGregor and Tony Ferguson on this card. Now we don't get Conor or Tony. Excuse me. And I've got one other question. Why the fuck are we even... Why was Nate Diaz versus Tyron Woodley the talks instead of Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson? Where the fuck has Tony Ferguson been? That's what I need to know. What's going on with Tony Ferguson? All these Nate Diaz and Tyron Woodley talks, Tony Ferguson should have been came out like, yo, what the fuck are these guys talking about? I was supposed to be fighting Conor at 219, and now I don't get that fight, and Nate Diaz is talking about fighting somebody else? Fuck that. Tony Ferguson should have started a motherfucking GoFundMe like a Nate Diaz don't be scared homie GoFundMe. Tony, just for shits and giggles, just for promotion. Like, look, this guy's coming back. He's not gonna fight Conor, so why don't he fight me? I'll still stalk and slap your bitch ass. Tony Ferguson should be taking advantage of this situation because honestly, it's all fucking shenanigans and madness. And Tony Ferguson is probably the one that's getting shit on the hardest. He was supposed to be getting a Conor McGregor fight at 219, and then that gets taken away. And instead of sliding him in the conversation versus Nate Diaz, they start talking about this fucking circus Tyron Woodley versus Nate Diaz fight. Like, where is my nigga El Kukui, boy? With that being said, it is what it is. I've said enough. Let the full-time family know what the fuck you tell me in the comments. I'm out.
Da 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 da. It's the motherfucking DOWG.